Right. Hello, YouTube. This is the Wednesday, the 24th of February, 2021 cert-manager dev bi-weekly meeting.
Please like and subscribe.
There is no one who is not normally here today, but we can have a brief introduction anyway, because the entire JetStack cert-manager team is here, and we have one of our maintainers, Marcha, here as well.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So, on the agenda today, we'll start with. Oh, should I share this? Is that how we do it?
Yeah, that's usually how we do it.
Helpful.
Right. On the agenda today, we're going to start with the Github Org Move. I assigned myself this and made it a project on the JetStack/cert-manager GitHub repository. Last week, we had a meeting with the internal team that runs the JetStack testing infrastructure, and which is like basically Prowl, so you should be relatively familiar with it. And we decided that we can go ahead and start moving the repositories, and because the JetStack Prowl is watching both the JetStack organization and the cert-manager organization. But we did put a plan in place to, once we've moved it, we'll spin up separate infrastructure just to maintain the separation of concerns and not worry too much about any possibility of cross-contamination. So I started by moving a low-impact repository and decided to use the example DNS01 Acme webhook. And I moved that yesterday and wrote in the task ticket for that what my observations were. And the upshot of that is we basically need to prepare 3 PRs and merge them all as soon as possible after moving the repo. Basically, a PR that moves the testing config from watching the old JetStack location to the new cert-manager location, and a PR that updates the import path because of the way that GitHub sets up a nice redirect and how Go modules work. Anyone that imports the old path under a specific commit continues to work fine. But as soon as you remove the repository, if anyone tries to go get the new repository, Go complains saying that the module that you imported doesn't match the path that it declares. And you need to do this very quickly after moving the repo, because as soon as anyone pulls it, it goes into the proxy.golang.com or .org, whatever it is, cache, and then that makes it annoying for everyone else. So yeah, it's a little bit fiddly, but not too. But there's a process for it. And after the next discussion about import paths, I'll be ready to move the cert-manager repo.
Is the process documented somewhere publicly?
I put my observations on the ticket. I will probably write what I will do before doing the actual move for review, so it's not documented yet. But I put what I think should happen on the ticket. I should probably link this ticket in the document.
Thank you. Completely off topic here. Well, not completely off topic. Going back 10,000 sentences. Did we already inquire what CNCF is willing to provide us in terms of Prowl infrastructure?
As far as I'm aware, JetStack is sponsoring the new Prowl infrastructure, and we don't get anything from the CNCF at a sandbox stage.
Okay, just checking if somebody checked with them.
I don't know whether anyone actually checked. I think I remember maybe I asked that question, but I never checked.
I think the only person that would know anything might be James, but I don't. James Westby. I don't know though.
I don't know.
Okay, but either way, I think JetStack is willing to sponsor the Prowl. It's a small
I
community
read
to see.
something passing around from a CNCF bot with Prow, etc. So just checking if somebody checked what's going on there. I am not entirely sure what their plans are to unify it or not, or I just have been seeing some CNCF specific Prow setups. I think it's also prow.cncf.io and places like that. So I am not sure what their plans are around that. They want to push Prow everywhere. When you look at, for example, like Helm is not using Prow at all, and everybody else is. So I'm not sure if they are trying to somehow sponsor Prow setups or like unify all Prow setups or something like that. So just wanted to check if somebody checked with them what their opinions and ideas are on that.
We could do. It doesn't change the immediate tasks of moving a repo over and just continuing with JetStack Prowl for a few weeks.
Yeah, just checking before we start building and taking days building a whole new GKE cluster and then realizing that no, we have something else now.
It's okay. They are. JetStack Infrastructure is very busy doing other stuff, so they haven't wasted any time on it yet.
I imagine if you build a pass, you're busy.
Any more questions about moving the low impact repo that I did yesterday? Because we can carry on. Okay, I posted a RFC on changing the import paths for the background is that, like I just said, when we're moving the repository, we're going to have to rename the import paths. And should we take the opportunity to use a vanity path like some other projects do and some projects don't? And I wrote pros, we have to rename the package anyway, and if we do this, it future-proofs it against possibly moving it again in the future. Another pro is that it's slightly shorter and slightly more readable. It's a very small pro. And the third pro is it looks cool. And cons are we have to then maintain another piece of infrastructure, either like either a little web server that hosts input paths or just another static site that hosts some meta tags. Like, it's not difficult infrastructure, but it is another piece of infrastructure.
And critical, just to note, if that goes down, your build system goes down. Well,
less
not your build
critical,
system, but other people's build systems will go down.
Less critical now. A lot of people use module proxies. If in fact everyone's using a module proxy unless they unset it. And the second con is it's unlikely it's ever going to move again, so that's just kind of invalidating one of the pros. So any comments from anyone?
Yeah, sorry, I understand the con now, because I couldn't understand why you said it couldn't move anymore. Now I understand. Like,
so, yeah.
Since we know it's never going to move, what's the point? Okay.
Just a personal pet peeve, I hate vanity import paths with a passion. Because they are super unclear. Every time I import a Kubernetes package, I import it from k.io. I go to k.io/where it comes from, and I get a 404 on the Kubernetes website. And I have to go look in all of GitHub where it comes from. And personally, I love GitHub import paths because I just can do a git clone on them. Except for Kubernetes.
So we did actually talk about this in one stand-up. It's not actually. I don't know why they don't redirect nicely, because that's not difficult at all to make if you click on the import path and because it looks like a URL, most IDEs or terminals will let you click on it, and it goes to the page, and there's no reason So like the Google Cloud Platform example Cloud Run project for hosting a vanity URL redirects you to the package.go.dev page for that package when you click on it.
That leaves you out reusing any package names as part of your website. I think that's mostly the reason why they didn't do it.
Actually, I'm not sure, but is it? Oh, never mind. Sorry, I linked something in the chat, but it doesn't. It's unrelated. It's related to the chart problem, but it's sorry. Never mind.
Yeah,
It's too bad they don't just have like a JavaScript redirect, as I explained in the somewhere.
Yeah.
it does on package.go.dev. I mean, it does on the Google Cloud Platform one. I spanned it up just to test it. Yeah, to address the comment that you then are starting to pollute pages on your website, we would have to use a like dedicated subdomain like go.cert-manager.io, or as Mail suggested on the ticket, like buy cert-manager.dev and use that for packages.
Yeah, I think that will be confusing because we're using cert-manager all over the place, annotations, etc. If you then start introducing dev also, I think that's even more pollution towards the code base by using two domains, and then you have to know which domain is where. So I'm less a fan of dev. I prefer go.cert-manager.io if you really want to go vanity URLs.
Can we not have a vanity URL? Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
also something
wondering.
I'm arguing for, by the way.
That's
But
what-
I see there is so many support in the ticket to be pro vanity URLs, so I'm also keeping that in consideration. It's still a democracy.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted just to talk about it, and I'm completely. I'm kind of completely in the middle. I like them because I like it from the coolness factor rather than anything else. I'm worried about critical infrastructure, so that puts me in the middle.
Because like apart from I really don't understand what is the benefit apart from, because the GitHub URLs are still quite beautiful. They don't, it's not Java. There is no ugly
I just
thing.
explained to a student who was interested in Go that this is the thing I love most about Go, is that the import paths are actually useful import paths and not some reverse domain which nobody ever checks, like in Java, C#
And
and
it's
every
ugly.
other language.
Yeah, so but yeah, I really like the fact that Jake, you did so much research on this. So
Jake gets paid for it, whether it's implemented or not, so don't feel guilty for Jake. I don't think that's a good argument.
yeah. So how is it going to work? Do we vote or something?
So basically, this decision, I'd like it to be made sooner rather than later, because I can't move it until then. So I haven't heard, like, in the interest of doing it quickly and then just forgetting about it, we could just say nah, and not just gonna use GitHub path. So I like it, but I don't think it's enough pro. I don't think there are enough pros.
Well, it's a good pro to like it. Istio. Yeah.
Anyone got any strong feelings? Because
I just make my strong feelings. Can somebody else do some other strong feelings, please?
Yeah, my strong feeling is that I wish we could skip the GitHub path, because I was confused so many. Unless we really are careful not to do the same mistakes as we just said as the Kubernetes vanity path, But the GitHub one is still pretty beautiful. It is a bit longer. It is 4 characters more longer than the go.cert-manager.io/cert-manager. So
yeah,
that's,
like that. Like other people using Vanity URLs generally have really short paths. Like the famous ones are like go.uva.org, go.etcd.io,
yeah, that's our
ks.io,
problem. We didn't find a
rsc.io.
short one, which means there is no like
There's no
really
benefit.
good.
Yeah.
Unless we found a really short one,
Oh.
really nice one that we love.
Relative import. Shivers. Sorry.
It's the way to go, Marcher.
Is it the way to go? Oh no, I need to start writing Rust now. Oh god.
It's the
It
way
is.
to go.
How do I downvote this? To be fair to new users.
Wait, it's also no wait. It's not that bad because when you're forking a repo and you have to change all the never mind.
It
This
has
is
its
like the
advantages.
eternal problem.
I see. I tried it in the Go path days. It worked reasonably until you put it on a CI.
All right. In the interest of keeping the meeting going, let's just say that
I have to
we
leave
won't
5
bother
minutes.
with this, and this can mean
do you want to vote? Wait, do you want to vote? Maybe we haven't heard enough voice. That's why.
I'm against it too, but I think we don't. What we want ultimately is to make the cert-manager API importable by external libraries on its own. We don't really want external projects importing other things from cert-manager at the moment, I don't think. So I think we should talk about this once we have made the API importable, like the Kubernetes API is importable.
yeah, because the actual Kubernetes API, like ks.io/API, is a mirrored like it's a snapshot of the actual repo without as much code in.
I think that's the way to go, to be like. And then we still have the nice import part, which is called github.cert-manager.io github.com/cert-manager/API.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
point. Excellent point.
What's the benefit of moving the API out of the repository if we're not going to use the Vanity?
That's basically the point, is Kubernetes vendoring. Because we vendor Kubernetes, Go will try to vendor the same version of Kubernetes. So we currently recommend literally copy-pasting our clients, Go client outside of a code base, into your own code because of a conflicting conflicting Kubernetes vendoring versions.
And it's not the only problem. There is also the fact that the cert-manager project uses a ton of unrelated packages that people don't really care when they just want to.
But what's
Like,
that got
usually-
to do with
Go module.
what's that got to do with the API? Changing the API repository, putting the API into a different repository.
I think
So
the main
in the
reason
sample
there is
external issuer, I have to import the cert-manager API.
Mm-hmm.
But because cert-manager has a dependency on controller runtime, I have problems using a particular version of controller runtime in the sample external issuer.
But PKG
There's a clash.
APIs doesn't import.
Yeah, tell Go modules that.
Go modules
Yeah,
still
exactly.
gets troubled about it.
Unfortunately.
And it's the same reason as Kubernetes, but just a bit less complicated because we import less stuff. We still import a lot. Whereas the package APIs is just types. There's no reason why it shouldn't be importable by itself at some point in the future. I'm not worried too much at the moment. Okay, I put consensus no, but we can revisit breaking out the API as an import at some point. Anything else on the GitHub Org Move that you don't understand or want to ask me, I guess, because I've assigned it to me? Okay.
Do I need to be more involved?
I will. I'll prepare steps based on what I observed, and then someone needs to review them and be with, like, pairing with me at the time, because we want to merge a bunch of stuff all at once. So I want eyes on it.
Bye, Marsha.
Bye. I have
Go-
to go teach a class. Feel free to join my class. Bye.
Yeah,
It's in
see
Dutch, you
you
won't
in the class
understand.
then.
Right.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
think
no
it'd be
problem.
I think it'd be sensible to have eyes.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. Moving on then, we want to discuss our support policy. So I think this is, in the past, we only supported the current version and didn't do any like backporting. We just told people to update if they had any issues, because we would only put fixes into the current version. So now we've intentionally removed support for, well, obsolete versions of Kubernetes, where obsolete is anything before 1.16. But I know that in a lot of like environments that can't upgrade or are slow, there are people running versions before that. So we can discuss whether we would start supporting our 1.1 release as a kind of LTS and cherry pick bug fixes into it, or whether we would just say no, and if you want them, then send us a work order.
So is this discussion about LTS versions, or is it about like support windows?
I think
three
all of
separate things. They're like
I think-
distinctly separate things. I think.
I think we should talk about them both, but I think
Mm.
yeah, there's 2 points there.
Yeah, they're really related because whatever we advertise on this page will be this, like we have to choose. We have to decide what we want.
Why 1.1 in particular would be LTS rather than say 1.2 or?
Just because it supports a lot of versions of Kubernetes. 1.2 only supports 116 to 120. And this is all by our current support policy, which is we support n-4, where n is the current version of Kubernetes.
So what's the minimal version for 1.1? I forgot. I tried to
1.11.
find it. Ah, thanks.
We actually test it against 1.11 still, are testing it, or?
No, right now we are not, because we've just got our normal policy at the moment, which is we only run the periodic testing on the current supported version. So when we released 1.2, I made a big PR to testing repo that removed all of the 1.11 to 1.15 tests.
So we've had this discussion before about what to do with LTS versions. I think we came to the conclusion that if a company wanted to support like an LTS version for commercial reasons, or just they love cert-manager, then that would be fine. But the cert-manager project wasn't going to be interested in doing that just because of the work it would take.
What do we mean by LTS, by the way? Is it like a 1-year support?
I don't know what we mean. Like, it stands for long-term support, which usually means that it's like some large number of years between 5 and 10, but I think it varies amongst.
So I guess there is no LTS Kubernetes, right? Like the
There
Kubernetes is not
is-
LTS.
There is under the OpenShift branding.
Ah,
But that would mean that we would actually need to keep running the tests as well then, I guess, because there would
Yes.
keep being like backports and stuff.
I'd also question, what is the cert-manager as a project? What motivation do we have to do this, and what are we trying to achieve? Because I haven't necessarily come by any kind of user stories at the moment, or people specifically asking for an LTS version. It seems like we're prematurely trying to solve a problem that doesn't yet exist.
Yeah, has
and
anyone,
it seems like any
has anyone
users
seen
will-
any seen any requests on issues or in Slack or anything like that where someone's been asking for it or complaining that they're having to upgrade too often? Or
I mean, I even saw it like yesterday in the cert-manager Kubernetes Slack channel. I want to upgrade cert-manager from version 0.15 to version 1.1. So people are doing it. I don't know why, but they are.
Yeah, but
yeah,
So I mean, I don't know if it's commercial reason or just they're not reading the docs. Lovingly crafted by me and Josh for 1.2 release.
But like realistically, that would, because that Kubernetes version, like say 1.11 of Kubernetes, they themselves don't support it. So
Yeah, I mean, again, they might be using OpenShift on-prem or something, but I don't know. No one said anything compelling, but I do see people trying to use 1.1 even now.
yeah. I mean, I'm not inclined to do this. It's getting in the way of us, like it's extra effort, right, to do that. And I'd rather move forward and improve things than support people who want to stay on Kubernetes 1.15 for a long time. If there are a lot of people who are motivated to do that, then maybe JetStack or another company can offer that as a paid feature, because that's the way that they are able to stay on, you know, these old Kubernetes versions, right? Is if you are paying someone like Red Hat to do that. So that's pretty standard at this point. So I don't feel the need to kind of do that in the open source project.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really like the idea of supporting old Kubernetes versions.
But in that case, why all the effort last week in backporting bug fixes to 1.1?
So this is a kind of separate discussion, which is what I was referring to at the beginning. Like there's the distinct ideas, this LTS and also the support windows. I think they're two separate things.
I don't
I'm
get
confused.
that. On
So-
last week when we talked about it, the reason to backport the fixes to 1.1 was as a courtesy to people who wanted to keep running their cert manager on older versions of Kubernetes.
So
That's go on.
So my understanding of that was that LTS versions would be supported for in the order of years, let's say. Yeah, for for people who running old versions of Kubernetes, they don't want to upgrade for various reasons. Whereas the support window is support for order of months. So in a case of cert manager, that might be like 6 months or something like that. If we're doing releases every kind of 2 to 3 months, then a release is supported for about like 6 to 8 months or whatever it is.
But that's arbitrary. I mean, that's something you've, sorry, not you, but has been chosen. That's different to what we've always done up until now is support the latest released version, and suddenly now we're supporting latest plus -1. Why? Why that?
I thought we'd been doing that for a while, hadn't we?
No, we've always, James Munley has written in the docs that we support the current released version.
So I think, like in my opinion anyway, that is enabled to move quickly pre V1, but now post V1, you know, as you say, like as a courtesy, as like a stable project, it makes sense that we have like more stability now where we can kind of provide these longer support windows.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think current version -1 is a reasonable policy where the previous version is only supported for important / critical fixes. Not everything gets backported. but if it's critical, if it's important, then it can be backported. So we're not spending the time to backport every single bug fix back to the previous release. But I think current version is reasonable given our kind of release cadence as well.
I agree. Like things like the certificate creating multiple certificate requests is probably something we need to be backporting, but standardizing all our conditions or something like that is something we should be doing.
No, and I think the multiple certificate REST thing is kind of borderline. I can definitely see the argument for doing it, but anything that was less impactful than that, I don't think warrants a backport.
So what Josh said was actually supporting release for a number of months, which is different than supporting N-1 release, right?
No, so I was talking in terms of months, just in terms of like orders. So like in order to like explain the differentiation between an LTS and
right, this is all about LTS. Cool.
This one, yeah.
Maybe Jake, can you open the preview thing? We can see that we have been releasing every 4 months. So I just want to make sure I understand what we just said about the critical. Like, what do we mean? How do we decide this? How do I write in this release support document what we mean by the N-1 support policy? Well, like, do I just say that as a team we decide on the criticity of bugs and only backport like this level of criticity?
Yeah, I think we
Where
can
do we
say
set the
we
bar?
backport critical bugs. If you would like to propose a specific bug for a backport, then you can do so, but there's no guarantee that we will do it based on risk, difficulty, etc.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'll just put that here. So there is in this document there is a section called support policy. This is based on the ECO one, so I have to rewrite it because it is it is not what we are doing right now.
Mm-hmm. So can you just scroll up to the release timeline again? Say we're just above. I'm not sure. I don't think we should target 1.3 for June.
Yeah, that's me.
Don't worry about the dates. I think this is just a example. Because
But please speak up if you would like to have like a more precise date. That would make sense.
I think we should be targeting somewhere between 6 weeks and 2 months for releases, and then try and actually hit those timelines.
But so between 2 months and 6 months?
Per release.
6 weeks and 2 months.
6 weeks and 2 months. I think
something in that spot makes sense. Like Marty made the argument that monthly was a bit too frequently.
And 4 months.
I don't think it wants to be any longer than 2 months.
But basically, we change how we. Well, I guess this is for the next point. But we just release on the same day, roughly, once we settled on a cadence, and then whatever was ready, tested, and in by then gets released.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that isn't is just into the next one.
I think some of these end of lives are wrong. Not that it matters too much. Like 0.12, for example, the end of life was the January the 21st, right?
Yeah. So sorry. Because I took like I took the day we released a version and used that as the end of life of the version -2. So if you want
that's never been true, right? We've never done that.
No, it was just a way to find
to start a conversation.
I see. Yeah. That makes sense.
This
Exactly.
is this is a work in progress PR.
Yeah.
So don't worry.
The only thing that is true in this page is the dates of release.
Mhm.
This is the only thing that is true. The rest is like it's me trying to find out.
So to summarize then, we can change our support policy saying that we support the current version with everything, and if then we'll put critical fixes into n-1, but if you think the fix is critical enough, then nominate it on an issue, and then if we don't think it is but they really think it is, then they can reach out to Jetstack to sponsor it or something. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll just write this in the meeting notes. Thanks.
Okay, that will require some testing repository stuff, but I won't worry about that for now. Okay. Any other support policy things, or shall we go to the next point? All right.
Are we like, I don't know, have we made a decision, I guess, on what we want to do about these things?
Well, I thought wasn't that just we support the current version and n-1, and then I don't know about timelines.
Okay.
So we'll worry. I think we'll move that discussion to the website PR that Mail was showing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so moving on to our 1.3. So I mentioned this at the end, but I know that I talked to James about it, and he might have talked to you about it. I don't know what happens in your one-to-ones, but for the release cadence, we should set one, and rather than what we did previously, which was pick a bunch of issues that we thought were good, put them into the next milestone, and then we would work on them, and the release wouldn't happen until they were all finished. The proposal is that we change this to we still trim the milestone next into a 1.3, but we set a cutoff date, and if something hasn't made it in by the cutoff date, we just bump it to the next one, like this, similar to other large open source projects. What are people's thoughts?
So what do you need to get into the milestone? Just like an issue, I guess, that's been triaged?
Yeah, similar to what we did before, except we didn't do it very often, where we go through a milestone next and then triage them into 1.3.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of what is that? Sorry, the cutoff date is by which you have to have it PR'd into the master, the actual fix, or
yeah.
Okay, and what happens between the end of the cutoff date and the release day, in terms of is it just for testing or?
Well, you cut alphas at that point, and then the
Right.
idea is that when we cut alphas, a small number of people test them, and especially if they had a feature in the alpha that they wanted, and then they can tell us if it's broken.
Yeah, it can be a fairly short period. It could be like 3 days or something.
Yeah, like our last 1.2 alpha was only 3 days.
Monday morning's the cutoff in master. We cut the alpha. No PRs land for 3 days that aren't critical for the release, and then on Thursday we cut the final release or something along those lines. So it's not a massive disruption, and then you're just back to normal working on the next release.
It's just to stop 1 or 2 PRs holding the release back by 2 to 3 weeks, which seems to happen.
Yes. And if there is anything that is critical for a release, then that needs to be, addressed in plenty of time to hit that. Anything else is not considered critical for a release, even if it got triaged into the milestone or whatever. It's just, hey, this would be great to do that. Maybe we want to work on it. Oh, we ran out of time. That's totally fine.
Sorry, quick question about this critical thing. Do we have a label, or do we have a way to know which issues are critical? Like the vcert issue is probably critical.
There's a
It's critical urgent.
Critical urgent. Okay, thank you. Is the label.
I think that as part of this, we would get a bit more disciplined about our labels rather than just like right now. We're just kind of, we pick stuff and we work on it and it goes in at some point, but we could get a little bit more disciplined, I guess.
So you would traditionally have like a release manager who was in charge of this kind of thing, and like if you wanted something to be marked as critical, you would have to petition the release manager, and they would accept it and then chase you to make sure that you had landed it in time, like that kind of thing. I don't think we need to go that far, but like that's the kind of model that drives this. The underlying like idea for this is that like it becomes self-reinforcing. Like if the more that you let the release drift because you're waiting for particular PRs and things like that, the longer you get between releases and the more important it is that you get things in a particular release. Whereas if you have frequent predictable releases, missing a release isn't a big deal because 1 month, 6 weeks, 2 months later, the fix is out there anyway. So holding up a release becomes like a self-reinforcing problem. So this is kind of the idea, is if you just get a cadence, you stick to it. It's like, oh yeah, this didn't make it into the release, but it will be available 1 month later, 6 weeks later, whatever.
I often get, well, it seems like I get emails all the time from Kubernetes upstream, for example, about deadlines for KEPs, deadlines for PRs, and all the rest of it.
How much, like, are we gonna choose a set time? How long before, or are we going to, like, is it going to be different, for example, for something to expect to be a bigger release? Or
so now we've hit 1v1. I don't feel like there should be any massive release, but I might be wrong.
Oh, that's a dangerous go, Jake.
Yeah. I know there are massive things coming. Like identity is massive, certificates is massive.
Like the concept of certificates, or
no, I mean adopting upstream certificates is going to be a big one. I don't know. I don't know what we have, like what the scope of the like bi-weekly meeting is in terms of planning, but I want to have a mini triage party soon, where we pick some reasonable number of issues to go into 1.3. Then we can have another brief meeting to set our cadence and first cutoff date, and then we'll just see what happens. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes. Totally makes sense, yes. Do we know how far or how like how the triage is going right now? How many issues are in the triaging backlog?
Well, we can go to the
because I have no idea. Like I tried to do it every day, but for the past 2 weeks I didn't do it. Sorry.
So there are 35 odd in here. Yeah, 35.
I mean, like these issues, are they recent ones or are they quite old ones? Like I see 2019, that's quite old. Okay.
Yeah, I have my attitude to issues that have been open for like longer than 6 months with no comments is just to close them. because
that-
they're never going to get. They're either important and someone's moaning every day, or they're never going to get done.
yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, well, I think we'll have a little party to go through these soon, maybe even this week if people are up for it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, I'll make a meeting then. That's my action.
Oh, can you invite people like Marsha? Maybe she might be interested. Not sure if she can come, but
I mean, I'm happy to invite the dev group, seeing as
oh yeah, great.
it's the open source milestone planning, right?
Yes, let's do that.
As long as everyone else is happy. Right, I don't think we have time really for the last item, which was raised by community, which is whether they want to donate a external issue to us. So I think we'll move it to the next meeting. Maybe we can write. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, regardless of whatever we might do with that, I think we should reply.
Yes, I say move it to the next meeting and reply to this ticket saying we'll put it in the next meeting. Please, if you'd like to discuss it, come over and chat. Right. Any more things to bring up quickly? Okay then, I'll stop the recording and